In a rare press conference in Jerusalem, Netanyahu has delivered a message that was as uncompromising as it has been revealing, and rising international condemnation and intensifying humanitarian crisis has forced him into declaring, it seems, his position. And his position is that all of the territories of the Gaza Strip will be under Israel's security control by the end of the current offensive, codenamed Operation Gideon's Chariots. This is not a military update, this is a manifesto. It's a declaration of strategic permanence wrapped in the language of security. And then he goes on to say that Trump's plan, that he wants to follow Trump's plan, that is, that all residents of Gaza be moved. Netanyahu's tone was both triumphant and truculent. He says that the Israeli forces have pounded Hamas positions, made significant gains, and are prepared for a temporary ceasefire, but only if it brings home hostages and enforces the conditions tantamount to Hamas's unconditional surrender, the release of Israeli hostages, the disarmament of Hamas, the exile of its leadership, and crucially, the permanent imposition of Israeli security control over Gaza. And in other words, Gaza would no longer be a semi-autonomous Palestinian enclave, but a territory under Israeli surveillance and rule. And this, in essence, is the annexation of Gaza by military occupation, cloaked not in formal declaration, but in a de facto reality. Netanyahu has framed this as a necessary response to October the 7th. He's reiterated that Israel has the right, indeed the obligation, to defend itself. He's attacked claims that his government enabled Hamas by allowing Qatari funds into Gaza, insisting the money was used for sewerage and electricity, not rocket launchers or ideology. But there was a sharp rhetorical pivot. He accused Hamas of seizing humanitarian aid and reselling it to fund terrorism. He suggested that only Israel could ensure aid reached civilians. Well, they're not doing a very good job at the moment, are they? It's a strange tautology. Deny aid, then reintroduce it on the condition that only you can distribute it. It's both saviour and jailer logic. And the world is not persuaded of this chop logic. A joint statement from Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron and Mark Carney condemned Israel's military escalation as morally unjustified and warned of concrete actions if it doesn't halt the offensive and lift aid restrictions. They were joined by the UN, which estimates that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza within days if aid doesn't flow freely. And Israel now faces not only the wrath of its enemies, but the increasing discomfort of its allies. And Netanyahu's response, dismissive. He insists that Israel's friends have made it clear, we won't accept a humanitarian crisis, but we'll still support you. He appears to be gambling on the West's moral disquiet being overridden by strategic convenience. Netanyahu's goal is not simply the defeat of Hamas, it's the transformation by force, using Gaza, turning Gaza from a contested strip into a controlled buffer zone. And he's offered a 3-stage humanitarian plan: aid deliveries, food distribution centres, civilian protection zones. But critics argue this is population management, not relief. It's displacement, depopulation, and a tacit encouragement for permanent relocation that is part of what many see as a creeping policy of ethnic engineering. The reference to Trump's former resettlement plan, which involved moving Palestinians to neighbouring countries, was telling. Netanyahu called it correct and revolutionary. Internationals call it unlawful and a form of a displacement. And the question now is whether Netanyahu can take control of Gaza. Israel's military strength makes that possible. The question is really at what cost? And to Palestinians, the cost is already unthinkable. 3,500 dead since March, including hundreds of children. To Israel, it's diplomatic isolation, moral exhaustion, and endless insurgency. And to Netanyahu himself, it may be legacy. Whether as victor or villain, his name will be bound to Gaza. Netanyahu has chosen defiance over diplomacy, permanence over peace. And in doing so, he may win a war, but lose the world. And all he has to do is look over to his man in the Smeg fridge just down the road to see what that means.